Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are across this great wide world of ours. I want to carry on more about the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or the BIA. And from this point on in my discussion today, I'm going to refer to it as the BIA. But the point that I want to make about this, and I'm going to start writing a book sometime this week concerning the changes or the changes that should have occurred on the reservation then under the Secretary of the Interior's through the 19th, 18th, 19th century, which which really should have occurred but didn't occur. But I'm going to look at this in a psychology viewpoint because, like I've said previously in many of my BIA videos, that there's still this high unemployment, high dropout rate, social issues, as well as domestic violence issues still prevalent, and they are above the national norms on many of the reservations across the United States. And you would think with the interaction of the BIA under the Secretary of the Interior that things would be better, and in some cases they are because they've got more programs, social as well as economic reform on a lot of these reservations. But we should be at a better spot along the way because we're looking at it going into the 21st century, and there still is this reluctance or this issue of non-acceptance by many members on tribes, and the what I would call not the acceptance of the government or the mistrust of the government. And part of this has a validation to the fact that when we look about treaties signed and broken, forced removal off their native lands, and the issue that becomes out in the 1980s, 1990s is we formed casinos, and this is going to be a downfall as well. I wrote a book on this, Diminishing Returns on Casinos, which is available on Amazon, and this is going to be another issue in itself. And the fact of the matter is that we got a lot of programs, social programs, and depending on the political spectrum of the time, that a lot of social programs and government programs that are on the reservations will be decreased. So there's this other issue that comes emerging as to what we do on how we can reform the Native American reservations. And one of my concepts is that we have 12 regional offices, and with the 12 regional offices, we need to streamline those to maybe four, close the government center in Washington, D.C., more or less centralize that somewhere in the central United States, somewhere like Oklahoma or somewhere, because really most of the reservations that people are forced on are west of the Mississippi, a majority. Not saying that they're all there, but they're still, but more of a centralized location instead of putting it on the East Coast in Washington D.C. And and though that I know they talk about the regional offices playing an impact on it, but really the impact is not really as great, because if you call up the office, they'll say call the individual tribe, call the individual tribes and work out something. So really, technically, the issue becomes we're not really looking at the regional offices as just a channel, and we could take that channel and streamline that channel and give more funding to the local tribes. And my contention is too that the Biden administration wanted to open two more casinos in Oregon. Right now, and my contention about that is still, and has not changed and will not change, is that there's oversaturation with casinos all across the United States, especially with Native Americans and with the online gambling now concerned right now. That avenue of revenue is diminishing. So we're going to have a lot of infrastructure within the next 10, 15 years that they will still have income. Don't get me wrong, but that the issue becomes an issue of whether we take that money and streamline it more to the reservations, the individual reservations, instead of sticking into more bureaucracy. And one of the points that I make and the contention to make is Kirkpatrick's book on organizations that are top heavy. Case in point, the federal government seems to be very top heavy, have a lot of administrative positions. And what happens when we get that situation that occurs, and this happens in nonprofit organizations, it takes more money to fund downward to help individuals. For instance, I think Wednesday or Thursday, I got a call from a PAC, wanted me to donate to a PAC for Firefighters Association. And though it was a pre-recording, the point on that was that, they want you to donate it, but almost 75-80% of that money, when you donate to a PAC money like that, goes to administrative cost and not necessarily funnels down to the right people. So there again, I think the issue becomes, what are we doing? What is the content, or what is the intent? Not the content, but the intent is to better lives on the reservations, get employment to people, create issues of infrastructure, because a lot of the reservations go without, don't have the plumbing. Some of them do, but not all of them have plumbing and have the availability of a clean water source. Case in point, especially in New Mexico, where some of the groundwater is polluted. And like I said, this year has been a really good year for water, especially out west for Lake Mead, Lake Powell, and etc. Necessarily, if we go back into this drought area where we get little or zero precipitation out west, then when it comes to water or water need, the Native American people are on the bottom of the list, because agriculture is on the top of that, cattle, and etc. And I often refer to the point that, especially when you're talking about pecan trees use an extremely amount of water. They use gallons upon gallons of water. They'll use more water than that is required, especially in the process when they're fruiting or blooming. And you're talking about an average tree that may use 75, 100 gallons a day on the process of when they're fruiting or blooming. So the issue becomes that water source is not really readily available for Native American tribes. And like I said, this is the point that needs to be addressed, not being addressed by this current administration. The issue of oversaturation of casinos. The situation seems to be, or addresses the issue of, let's create more casinos. Case in point, trying to open 2 more casinos in Oregon. When, as a scholar and a PhD who studies this material, feels that and believes that the casinos are saturated, and all you're really doing is catering to a tribe that in the future 15, 20 years may not necessarily have the funds to do this with the casinos. And we create an infrastructure, a building, etc., that will more or less within 20 years, 30 years from now have blight, because there really won't be that many people attending this. So these are issues that I think that the BIA either neglects to do, or or as the old cliche is, kick the can down the road and let the next generation deal with it. And I'm under the contention, I'm tired of saying, let's the next generation to deal with this. Let's deal with it now and make the changes now and move things forward so that we can get more of a positive feedback from people and Native Americans. And like I said, this issue becomes prevalent because there's still this mistrust and this misguidance about trusting the federal government, especially white people. Case in point, I've reached out to people concerning in the past about research, and sometimes they're a little bit reluctant to do it, even though it's in the name of research and getting scholarly work out. And the point is they're a little bit reluctant to do that. And then it's understandable as well. So there has to be this paradigm shift to where Native Americans, special leadership, and the individual people that live on these tribes have an opportunity to grow and have more empowerment and more say into what happens on their individual tribes, rather than being saved by the federal government. And like I said, this all becomes prevalent in the 1830s when they forced people on reservations. Instead of being under the Secretary of the Interior, they were under Secretary of War, which is the government, which, at that time, under the Jackson administration, should have been set up a set of criterion that kept it separated from the government. But then, like I said, the government thought of them as in the infamous words of Thomas Jefferson, noble savages. Didn't see the value in considering them human beings, and consequently we have other things: the Indian Removal Act, the Dawes Act, et cetera, that moves all the way down. Issues in the 1890s with Wounded Knee, the bison issue, or as U.S. Grant would say, the Indian dilemma. So all this festers well into the 19th or 20th century. And there are some gradual changes, but the changes are minuscule compared to what needs to be done currently. So anyway, these are some food for thoughts. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Feel free to reach out to me at bthomasmillerpsych@gmail.com. Also, feel free to look at my books on Amazon. They were self-published. Well, the latest one was Water Quality on the Reservation. And hope to talk to you real soon. Anyway, have a great day and talk to you soon. Bye.